Hi, TCCI. It's good to see everybody here. Yeah, as some of you know, I'm heading out tomorrow morning, and I'm heading to Thailand actually for a month before I go back to the States. And I'm really excited, but really sad at the same time because I'm leaving what I called home for the last 2 years. So feels really, what's the word? Melancholy. Yeah, I feel like that. I've been feeling like that for the past days. But I want to share a bit of what God has shown me the last 2 years here in Korea. And I know it's just only the beginning, so I'm excited. How the Lord called me to Korea, right? And my journey here to TCC. And just briefly, I've been a missionary for the last 10 years, actually. And God called me to be a missionary at the age of 15. I felt called to missions when I was 15. And at that time, I didn't know what a missionary meant or what it was. But when I heard missionaries speak about their time of what God was doing in Africa or Colombia or Salvador, my heart always beated. And I always thought, like, God, would you ever call me to do that, something like that? And so I remember clearly telling my mom, I think God's calling me to be a missionary. And she told me, I don't think you know what you're saying. I didn't know. But God knew. And I've been a Christian almost all my life. My parents are first-generation Christians, actually. And I've been a disciple of Jesus for the last 10 years. Growing up as a Christian doesn't really just, you're not really just born to be a Christian. I think at the time, my parents were Christian. I was going to church, and I was sleeping in the benches of the church, the pews of the church, and things like that. But I didn't know God personally in my life. So yeah, I'm thankful for my parents, and I've gotten to see Jesus in the nations and the bride of Christ in some of the darkest and poorest places of this world. And young and old, my life has been, I'm gonna try to share my testimony without crying. I'm such a feeler, like I cry. But yeah, my life has been an adventure ever since I said yes to God. And life with God and life with Jesus is fun. And so people always ask me, which country have you enjoyed serving and living in the most? But I really don't have a favorite. I've just loved meeting the people and these countries and how God touches the people and the hearts, and how I've been able to witness that, like, so crazy. I got a message actually last week from a pastor in Mozambique. I don't even know how he has access to, but he's like an older pastor, and I was a missionary in Mozambique in 2015, and we did an outreach in a village, like a really poor village. And I met this pastor. We went to serve at his church, and he still messages me after all these years. Hey, like, how are you? On my birthday and on New Year's. And I think it's just so crazy. It's so awesome. And it's really precious to me. And before coming to South Korea in 2020 was my first time that I came to Korea. I was serving in Brazil, actually. And I had served there at a mission school, and the Lord had already put Korea in my heart after meeting my first Korean friend in 2017. Her name was Kiana, and I had already been praying, like, for Korea and if the Lord would ever call me here. And at our mission school, we had a missionary come and he shared his heart for Korea, North Korea. He had been to North Korea and he was sharing what he witnessed there. And as he was sharing, I had tears running down my eyes. And I thought like, wow, like, could God ever call me there? And so me and God have this thing where I feel him. Do you guys have like these moments where God speaks to you? I have these moments where I know it's God speaking to me. And so I remember these tears are not my tears. These tears are your tears. And so that was the first time that I felt confirmation that the Lord would bring me to Korea. And that was in 2019. And after I left Brazil, I was in Fortaleza, Brazil for 6 months. And I went back home and I prayed, should I go back to Brazil or is this the time to go to Korea? And this was before COVID had hit. It was about to hit. And I searched ways to come to Korea and to serve in Korea. And I found a discipleship training school with YWAM that was starting on the day of my birthday. And I thought that was, for me, that was also God. For me, it felt like God telling me to apply because it was starting on the day of my birthday. And there's this thing with me and God on my birthdays. I shared it with Pastor Day a couple of days ago, but on my birthdays, I always pray, God, this year will be your year. And so that was confirmation for me. And so I applied to the school, and at the time I was resting and spending time with my family. And then I got an email that they wanted to do the interview with me. And so I was video interviewing these 2 Korean males that I had never met. And then after 2 weeks, I got confirmation that I was accepted to be part of their discipleship training school. So I came to Korea right when COVID was hitting. I still came, and I spent 3 months at a discipleship training school here in Korea, and it was my first time. It was scary, but fun. And that was in 2020. I spent 7 months in Korea, and the Lord really touched my heart for this nation and for the people. So I left Korea and came back, and the Lord really put this nation in my heart. And I remember the moments where I didn't want to completely yield myself to God. But these moments have led me here now. Yielding to God and saying yes to God have led me here. And so I want to share how the Lord brought me to the house of prayer. And I think it's so crazy because the last couple of years, God has really been training my heart for prayer and worship, and I didn't know. And then coming here to the house of prayer, my heart just really was trained even more. Like I was really in it, like I was part of it. And I've been serving here in TCC in the house of prayer for almost a year. March would have been a year. And at first, it was really terrifying because I didn't think I could lead a 2-hour set. I didn't think I could lead a group of people, especially people that are not the same ethnicity as I am. That's also really hard. But the Lord gave me the heart for y'all, for these people. And so it's really nurturing to me how God developed my heart, not only for worship, but for the people that I'm serving with. They're my friends, but they're also His friends. And so God really gave me the heart for not only the house of prayer, for the people who are serving in the house of prayer, knowing how hard it is for them to also leave everything to serve in the house of prayer 24/7. And so for me, that I admire them so much for that. And I've learned a lot here. So God always calls us to do things that we're not always comfortable with and that require Him to work through us. If you're doing something that requires your own strength, I've heard this a while back. If it requires your own strength, then it's probably not God. Because God calls us to do things where it requires to depend on Him. So my time here in the last 2 years, I've had to depend on God so much. And I think that's why I came. That's why I'm here. He taught me how to depend on Him only and to die to myself. And that's pure worship. That's worship. That dying for Him is worship. Lavishing it all on Him all your life. That's worship. That's what He wants from us. And I learned that here. Yeah. That in my worship, gazing my eyes on our one thing. I didn't know what that meant. I think I read it so much, but here it became real. Like I had to gaze my eyes on my beloved. And so I was reading Deuteronomy 18, 1-2. I don't know if you guys ever read it. I read it, but I read it again and I was like, bruh. Like, Deuteronomy 8, 1-2. The Levitical priests, that's the entry tribe of Levi. They don't get any land inheritance with the rest of Israel. They get the fire of God. The offerings of God, they will live on that inheritance. They don't get land inheritance. They get Him. And that's the calling of the Levite. And when I was reading that, it's like, oh, I have the calling of the Levite to die. And He becomes my everything. So, yeah, this is my testimony so far, the last 2 years of my time in Korea. And I want to encourage y'all. You don't have to be part of the house of prayer to be called a Levite. We should be Levites. We should waste our life on our beloved.